Ladies and gentlemen, barbarians of all shapes, sizes, and alignments, welcome back to the Dungeon Pub. This is part 2 of the Barbarian review, and we are going to get right into the second variation of the Barbarian in the player's handbook. This is the Path of the Totem Warrior. Oh boy, oh, this is new. This hasn't been done before in D&D, and I have to say, I was very wowed at the concept itself. The first time I read about this, I went, okay. All right, I see what you're doing. This is totally new. This is very different than the previous variation, and it kind of goes into more of the spiritual side of the barbarism. It goes into even borderline shamanism, and this is very impressive to me because in previous iterations, in previous games, even other RPGs, the barbarian almost never has any utility. I mean, okay, going back to Diablo 2, maybe with the shouts and stuff like that. I didn't really play Diablo 3 a lot. Don't judge me. I don't know, but barbarians never get to have any support stuff, any abilities that would help the party move along until this. Right? And this kind of makes it very cool for me. And a lot of people in our party have been going this route. It's incredibly fun to play. There's a lot of fluff in it, and yeah. Let's see what the path offers. Number 1, Path of the Totem Warrior. The Path of the Totem Warrior is a spiritual journey, as the barbarian accepts a spiritual animal as a guide, protector, and inspiration. In battle, your totem spirit fills you with supernatural might, adding magical fuel to your barbarian rage. Alright, so when you read that, what is the first thing that comes to your mind, right? I mean, Native American stuff, shamanism, you know, all those ancient cultures and traditions that went into that whole thing. So I was very excited when I started reading about this. I immediately wanted to make a character like this, and honestly, for the small amount of time that we've been playing, we've had a number of great barbarians that took to this path. So let's see why. Well, the first ability, so to speak, that the path is going to grant you is Spirit Seeker. Yours is a path that seeks attunement with the natural world, giving you a kinship with beasts at 3rd level. So right at the other benchmark for the other variation. When you adopt this path, you gain the ability to cast the Beast Sense and speak with animal spells, but only as a ritual and described in Chapter 10. Okay, so at this point you're going, okay, bartender guy, time out, hold on, what is this, right? Where's my swingy stuff? Well, hold on, we're gonna get to that, but before that, this is very new. And when you're looking at the 2 spells, I mean, we're not gonna get into the descriptions, Beast Sense and Speak with Animals, you kind of get the point. Think of all the amazing role-playing potential that you can have with just these 2 spells. Think of an adventurer's life and think how many times is it going to be where you don't really have any fauna around you, right? I mean, you're in a dungeon cell and there's going to be rats, right? There's going to be other tiny beasts. You're in a forest, right? Come on, yeah. You're in the desert, sure. A lot of potential there. Like we've had this amazing little scene with buzzards, right? Who are circling this dead animal, and the buzzards was just so Boston, so cool. The very down to earth creatures. So yeah, I mean, think of all the cool things that you can ask this animal in terms of information. And the other cool thing about this is that it gets your DM role playing with you. It gets the DM involved in what's going on, and you're gonna sit there and watch that guy or girl role play this thing. So it's very fun. It can also help you out purely mechanically, because you can gain information, you can kind of, use that beast to scout the land. It's very fun, very utility, but that's not the only thing you get at level 3. Additionally, you get totem spirits, right, or a totem spirit. So at 3rd level, when you adopt this path, you choose a totem spirit and gain its feature. So this is the first sentence right off the bat. It kind of goes into what has already been said about the Path of the Totem Warrior, and that is the fact that you're going to take some inspiration out of existing animals, right? You're going to turn these animals into totems, and they're gonna help you out in your adventuring life. So without going too much into the description, the core idea here is that you're gonna choose 1 out of 3 mighty beasts. So that's the bear, the eagle, and the wolf. And each and every one has its own unique, let's say, flavor. Obviously, the bear is gonna be big and mighty, and taking a lot of punishment. The eagle is gonna be this, a standalone animal, this lone hunter. Just prowling the skies. And the wolf, again, pack creature. So you can kind of get the idea behind these concepts right off the bat. But let's see what each and every one of them gives you as a bonus. Bear, while raging, so you need to activate rage, you have resistance to all damage except psychic. Okay, I'm gonna read this one to you again. While raging, no, you kind of get the idea, right? And you didn't hear me wrong. Yeah, you're resistant to pretty much anything out there in the world that can come at you. Psychic damage, kind of a different animal, but yeah, fire, ice, spears, just boulders, giants. You just don't care about that. Just forget about it. It doesn't say anything about magic items, so that means that it only looks at the type of damage and you have resistance to it, meaning whatever kind of damage you take, if you take 20, then because of this you're gonna take 10. Yeah, it's just very good, and the Path of the Bear is gonna focus on this particular kind of abilities. They make you more tanky, more capable of absorbing this sheer amount of damage. Yeah, bears, man, bears are cool. Moving along, Eagle. While you're raging and aren't wearing heavy armor, so again, that little thing about heavy armor, other creatures have disadvantage on opportunity attack rolls against you, and you can use the dash action as a bonus action on your turn. The Spirit of the Eagle makes you into a predator who can weave through the fray with ease. So yeah, that again, kind of like the lone thing. You're gonna say, okay, well that's not as cool as the bear mechanically, and you might have a point, but hear this out. The Barbarian is all about having a lot of HP, having very big cumbersome objects that, you know, get flung at people's faces. So don't discount throwing stuff, even though they don't give you bonuses in rage. But still, this makes you more mobile. And the whole thing about being very tanky and very big is not only being able to take large quantities of damage, but also being able to be on the spot where you're needed. So this is going to help out because you can dash with your bonus action. That means double the movement. And if you're one of them, you know, faster races like a Wood Elf, for example, that means that you can just, you know, up and always be in the face of your enemy. But that also means that you can move away, because when the enemy tries to hit you, and this occurs during an attack of opportunity, then they have disadvantage. Now you're going to be saying, okay, hold on, but isn't disadvantage kind of, you know, not really concrete? Well, yeah, but here's an interesting point. Barbarians are not supposed to evade all damage, right? And why? Well, number one, Barbarians are the only class that have a D12 in terms of a hit dice. So that means that you're always supposed to have more HP than your fighter, your ranger, your paladin, all those other classes that are supposed to be, or can be, let's say, frontline combatants. And also, the other point is that taking hits and dishing out damage with strength-based weapons in melee prolongs your rage, right? It keeps it up there so that it doesn't end early. So with this, you can kind of weave through the battle, and yeah, sure, maybe you're going to take a hit or two, but again, that really doesn't mean all that much to your machismo. So ultimately, you kind of get the point. This makes you more mobile, easier for you to get to where you need to be, and your party members are gonna help you. Well, the other party members are gonna help you and thank you when your job is done. So ultimately, the wolf. While you're raging, so again, pop rage. Your friends have advantage on melee attack rolls against any creature within 5 feet of you that is hostile to you. Yeah, wolves kind of fight in a pack, so that means that if there is a creature within 5 feet of you, and it's an enemy, right, so it doesn't work with PvP, or rather, you know, your rogue backstabbing the fighter just because he lost the game of poker, just saying, and you need to be raging, any creature that is friendly to you has advantage on melee attack rolls against creatures that are within 5 feet of you that are hostile. So yeah, wolves, again, hunt in a pack, so that makes you kind of like the alpha, so you get into the fray. You get as many creatures around you, right? And especially if they're the squishier kind, so you bust through the front lines of the enemy. You get in there where the enemy is, you know, most vulnerable, and then everybody else around you. That means the rogue, the fighter, the ranger. They can get into melee and they can, you know, do a lot of damage with advantage. So you're getting the idea. I mean, bear, eagle, wolf, they all have their own twists. But moving along, aspect of the beast is the ability that you're gonna get at 6th level, and it's more of the same, actually. But the cool thing is that, yeah, you get 3 more, 1 more for the bear, 1 more for the eagle, 1 more for the wolf, but you are not tied into any specific pack. So if you took bear previously, then you can take eagle now, or wolf, or kind of mixed match. So this turns the Path of the Totem Warrior into a completely different animal, because you have so many customizations, so many options, so many builds that you can have out of this, that it turns the Barbarian into such a more versatile class than you know, previous editions, or just looking at the 5th edition outright. Let's get into it a little bit. It literally says you can choose the same animal you selected at 3rd level or a different one, so feel free to pick whatever you like, whatever fits your concept. Or if you're just standing there going, I want to be the baddest baddest barbarian out there. So, you know, this is open to you. Bear, you gain the might of a bear. Well, yeah, you kind of had it previously, but here it's a little bit upgraded. Not in terms of, let's say, potency, but more like utility. Your carrying capacity, including maximum load and maximum lift, is doubled, and you have advantage on strength checks made to push, pull, lift, or break objects. Now, number one, first thing that might be missed by many players is that this didn't say while raging. So literally at any time while you're conscious, you have this bonus. And think about all the strength checks. Ask your DM about what is a strength check, how many things, how many activities in the world fall into that category, and you're gonna be surprised at how many variations of pushing, pulling, lifting, just smashing things there can be. The carrying capacity, right? It can be useful, especially later on when, you know, maybe carrying stuff is going to be more important. And then overall, this is always there for you. So this is kind of to off balance the previous bonus of the bear, because it's, I have to say, mechanically speaking, it's the most powerful one. And it just turns you into this mighty man who can go and do these insane feats of strength, like lifting boulders and creating doors and walls, if you know what I mean. Why would you need a spell or some other kind of an implementation, like let's say, I don't know, thieves' tools, when you can just, you know, make a door? If you're not getting what I'm meaning, maybe the bear is not for you. But again, you're getting the point. Eagle, you gain the eyesight of an eagle. You can see up to 1 mile away. So, you know, this is kind of huge. With no difficulty, able to discern even fine details as though looking at something no more than 100 feet away from you. Additionally, dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on your wisdom perception checks. So this kind of ties into your feral senses, right? All those abilities that allow you to perceive danger and, you know, have your first turn. Also, it kind of goes into that idea of the eagle being this lone hunter. So you can be the scout of the party. You don't need a ranger. You don't need a rogue to kind of go, especially for those open adventures that are in a forest or in a desert or, you know, in the mountain where there's, you know, large open areas. You can just, you know, follow the paths easier. This is kind of fluffy, yeah, kind of like the bear. It doesn't say that you have to be raging, so all of these kind of going to that category of being just passives. And I mean, if you have this kind of idea, if you have this idea of a lone hunter, again, kind of like a Native American warrior, then this is gonna be very suitable for you. And then lastly, the wolf. You gain the hunting sensibilities of a wolf. Again, you don't need to rage. You can track other creatures while traveling at a fast pace, and you can move stealthily while traveling at a normal pace. So this kind of goes into the ranger path. We're gonna be talking about rangers in future videos. This is the first one. We kind of started from the top, you know, be barbarian. There you go. But this is more like what rangers can do, and it's really cool how the whole class kind of branches out into different things, especially if you have an Outlander's background. This is gonna tie into that. And yeah, I mean, it just makes you more, let's say, attuned to your surroundings. So if you're tracking something in the wild, then this is gonna be the thing for you. Again, very fluffy, always on, always passive, right there for you if it fits your build. Now, Spirit Walker. At 10th level, you can cast the Commune with Nature spell. Without going into many details, this literally allows you to discern certain information about your surrounding land, because you can, summon your totem spirit. And yeah, number one, you don't need to be ranging, again, but number two, you can do this without ever going to a support group for people that have some kind of a disease. And oh yeah, Fight Club reference, just throwing that out there. But yeah, this is cool. More attuned to Spirit Seeker, meaning your 3rd level ability where you can speak with animals and sense beasts around you. This kind of gives it a little bit of an early capstone. You are a guy or a girl who is in tuned with the natural world, and you can just sit down, summon one of your totem spirits or all of them, or just, you know, kind of get the idea, and it will convey information that you seek. So this is kind of fluffy, allows you to roleplay, kind of like the previous abilities, and it makes the class just kind of, you know, deeper, more, how should I say this? Just, you know, more of it, if you want to look at it that way, instead of just swinging at things and then swinging at more things. So you can see how it's kind of, you know, branching into both directions. If you want one, take one. If you want the other one, this is right here for you. Again, I think it's very cool. And ultimately, at 14th level, you gain a magical benefit based on a totem animal of your choice. You can choose the same animal you selected previously, or a different one, so it doesn't tie you in. Again, the whole point of the Totem Warrior is that you don't have to stick to one path. You can kind of mix and match, take whatever feels right. And let's see what the 3 animals offer you. Bear, while you're raging, so you need to pop rage. All three of these need to have rage going on for them to work. But while you're raging, any creature within 5 feet of you that's hostile to you has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another character with this feature. Okay. Yep, you are a tank. You are the literal embodiment of the role of the tank. You just generate threat. For those of you that are not familiar with the concept, you are the primary target, right? And enemies that possess some degree of intelligence are gonna notice your beefiness and your machismo and your just outright dominance, and they're gonna be like, okay, we need to take that guy out. So this is good for other people in your party, especially melee characters that are not as beefy as you are, like a rogue or a monk or a a melee ranger, a beastmaster, two-handed fighter, or a paladin. This is gonna be great for them. It's gonna make their life a lot easier because they can just get into the fray and not have to, how should I say, just pay attention so much to perceiving threats and stuff like that. Also makes the life of your healer a lot easier if you're following this generalized concept of tanks, healers, melee, range DPS, utility buffers, stuff like that. Then this is gonna be the capstone for you, and your cleric is gonna be there going, okay, me and you are gonna get to know each other very well by the end of this adventure. So again, if you wanted to be a tank, if the Path of the Bear was your choice, then this is the perfect capstone for it. It makes you just amazingly utility focused, and I really love that. Eagle, while raging, again, you have a flying speed equal to your current walking speed. Yep, why don't you let the barbarian fly? I mean, even if it's for a little while. This benefit works only in short bursts, so yeah. You fall if you end your turn in the air and nothing else is holding you aloft. Okay, kind of weird, yeah, but also kind of in tune with what we've been doing. So that means that you can kind of suspend yourself in air for a little bit. Keep in mind to the fine print, right? You can't be suspended in air, so if you end your turn, you're gonna fall. Careful about it, but then again, you can drop on top of your enemy with a large cumbersome hammer in your hands, so think about all the possibilities with that. Also kind of goes into the whole thing where you ignore terrain because you're floating above it, and it just makes you more mobile, much like the first ability of the Eagle. This is kind of like a capstone for it. You can just weave in and out, dart from one side to the battlefield to the other one, and it's just amazing if that's your thing. And then Wolf, while you're raging, you can use a bonus action on your turn to knock a large or smaller creature prone when you hit it with a melee weapon attack. So this while you're reading this, you're going, okay, I'm not sure about this. How is this a capstone? Well, here's the thing. It's kind of like the bear, only it works on more of an offensive standpoint. And again, wolves hunt in a pack, so if you're the alpha, then your primary task is going to be to get in there, hit that big guy. Has to be large or smaller, so a huge gargantuan humongous creature, that's not gonna work. So no knocking out Kraken, sorry. And maybe with a little creativity, some inspiration, the capstone of the Eagle, just drop a large boulder. I'm just throwing out ideas, but again, going back to the wolf, you just have to hit it with your melee weapon. Hit it once, then use your bonus action to knock it prone. It doesn't get to resist it in any way, so that's kind of huge. But number 2, and the most important thing, is that a creature that is knocked prone gives other targets that attack it in melee advantage to hit. And that is great. If you're fighting this large boss, you can just keep knocking it to the ground, giving everybody else in melee range advantage. If this is your concept, if this fits, if you're reading this going, oh, I want to be this guy, I want to be this guy who does all these cool things, then this is right there for you. This is the capstone for the wolf. And moving right along, we're going to be talking a little bit about feats and races and how they tie into the class. So keep these in mind if you want to be a totem warrior, and you're going to see how they fit with feats and some of the racial bonuses, and we're gonna see how that goes. Now, in terms of feats, keep in mind a few things before you look at those feats. Number 1, primarily very important, the Barbarian is a very stat-dependent creature in terms of its primal abilities, so you're gonna need to cap off at least strength or constitution, depending on what your primary statistic was. But after that, right, after you get into that stat, you might be kind of dropping off in terms of getting those increases in stats, and you might be looking at some of the feats, especially if you're a variant human. These can help out a lot, and we're gonna go over them one by one. I'm not gonna get into a lot of details, we don't want to make this too long, but let's start off with Alert. Alert allows you to have a +5 bonus to initiative. You can be surprised while you're conscious, and other creatures don't have advantage on attack rolls against you as a result of being hidden from you. Well, that +5 to initiative is good for any character, always and forever. But the other ones, the Barbarian kind of already has. You already kind of have an ability that allows you to not be surprised, and you kind of, can have a turn at that point. So, I'm not sure. Probably not your first pick, but again, Alert is a very good feat for any build. Keep it in mind. Moving along, Athlete. You have undergone extensive physical training to gain the following benefits. Makes sense already. And I'm going to say right now, every feat that goes into physicality, melee, HP, and stuff like that, it makes sense for a Barbarian. It all depends on what you want to do, how you want to flesh out your character, because that's what feats are for. They give you additional layers of customization that you can just take advantage. So what does Athlete give you? Increases your strength or dexterity score by 1. All important for you. Again, this can kind of go into your statistics a little bit. You can forego an entire ability score increase to have this. Bump your strength by 1, bump your dexterity by 1. And then moving along, when you are prone, standing up uses only 5 feet of your movement. That's kind of cool, especially for those, Totem Warrior builds where you have all that movement speed. You can dash a lot, so it helps out with not having your movement cut in half when you get prone. Climbing doesn't have your speed, so that's kind of cool again. And you can make a running long jump or a running high jump after moving only 5 feet on foot rather than 10. So Athlete, you can kind of figure it out. It's overall utility for all melee classes, or not. If you want to play more of a ranged character, plays well with all characters that require strength or dexterity. Obviously, not a primary feat in my opinion, but again, if this is your build, if you want to make a character that's very utility based, this can help. Moving along, Actor. Well, just kind of looking at the name, you're gonna go, okay, well, I don't know but I'm gonna say right now, this is not gonna be one of your primary feats, because increases charisma. Yeah, you have advantage on charisma, deception, performance. These are not things that you're gonna be doing. If your build can fit this and this is your idea, right, then go ahead. It's right there for you. But the standardized Barbarian builds, the obvious Barbarian builds, are not going to take advantage of that. Moving along, Charger. When you use your action to dash, right, you can use a bonus action to make one melee weapon attack or to shove a creature. If you move at least 10 feet in a straight line immediately before taking this bonus action, you either gain +5 bonus to attack, to the attack's damage roll, or push the target up to 10 feet away. Well, yeah, this is kind of cool if you're looking more into the Berserker, but for Totem Warriors, you already have a lot of things to do with your bonus action. Hey, even the Berserker has a lot of stuff to do with his bonus action, so this might not be the best choice for you, even though it kind of goes into physicality and melee weapons. So, Crossbow Expert. Well, again, I mean, it's oriented more into ranged fighting. It allows you to do more attacks with the crossbow, ignore their loading speed. But, again, Barbarians, maybe not exactly the class for this kind of stuff. Just go into a fighter, go into a rogue. More variety there if you want to be using crossbows. Defensive Duelist. This is interesting, but let's read about it. When you are wielding a finesse weapon with which you are proficient and another creature hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your AC for that attack, potentially causing the attack to miss you. Well, you need to discuss this with your DM, because there's some interpretation here. Number one, when you're wielding a finesse weapon with which you are proficient and another creature hits you, that means that you can be using a finesse weapon, but you don't necessarily have to use dexterity to operate with it. You can still use strength. It's just that the weapon has that finesse marker on it. So it could work with, a rapier. Just again, talk to your DM. If he says okay, cool, that's okay, then go ahead. But otherwise, this I think is aimed at kind of like a different character. Dual wielding. Ooh, yeah. You master fighting with 2 weapons, gaining the following benefits. +1 bonus to AC. You can use 2-weapon fighting even when the one-handed melee weapon you're wielding aren't light. So none of them have to be light. And you can draw or stow 2 one-handed weapons when you would normally be able to draw or stow only 1. So this makes fighting with 2 weapons easier for you. It gives you 1 bonus point to AC. And it allows you to wield heavier weapons in both hands. This is very, very cool for a Barbarian. If irrelevant of which path you're gonna take, that +1 bonus to AC is there for you. It's not gonna mean that you're gonna become unhittable. So fighters can kind of go into that, but you just have it as a bonus, meaning you're harder to hit, but not exactly impossible. And again, you can have 2 warhammers, warhammer and a battle axe, just all these cool combinations, spears, throwing weapons. Makes you very, very versatile. You can stow or take out 2 weapons at the same time. If you're looking into what kind of a barbarian you're going to be, and you're thinking, should I use a large weapon with 2 hands, or smaller ones and wield one in each hand, then pick one feat that kind of gets into that. It helps you out, it adds some variety. It's going to be very helpful for you. Moving right along, Dungeon Delver. Well, yeah, just by the name, it's kind of like a utility feat. You have advantage on perception and investigation to detect the presence of secret doors, advantage on saving throws made to avoid and resist traps, resistance to damage dealt by trap. Okay, yeah, you kind of have these things already. You don't need to have a specific feat. And besides, leave this to more utility focused classes, kind of like the rogue, maybe the bard. If you're a utility barbarian, you're going into that totem warrior, you're going into all these little cool abilities, then if this fits your thing, sure, yeah, why not? Maybe it fits your backstory a lot. But again, if you can skip it and get other things, then I would suggest doing that. Moving along, durable, hardy, and resilient. Okay, sounds like you. You gain the following benefits. Increase constitution by 1 to a maximum of 20. Yeah, that would help. And then when you roll a hit die to regain hit points, the minimum number of hit points you regain from the roll equals twice your constitution modifier. If all of this doesn't make any sense to you, that's fine. Number 1, we're going to have a lot of videos going into detail about that. Number 2, that DM guy or girl is going to be there for you. Don't worry about that. This makes you, more resilient, number 1. And number 2, it allows you to regenerate more health during resting. So again, kind of cool, especially because you're a tank, you're a melee class, so you can take a lot of benefit from that. If you can skip it though, better stuff in front. Elemental Adept. Well, it requires spellcasting and it allows you to, deal more damage, ignore resistances. You don't have any ability in the barbarian class that, casts a damaging spell. So kind of skip this one, unless you're multi-classing and, kind of fits your build. But again, if you're a standard barbarian, you're just starting out, this is not going to do you any good. Grappler. Now, opposed to the previous one, this one is actually going to do you a lot of good. Number 1, because grappling is mostly based on strength checks. Keep that in mind. And number 2, it allows you to do some amazing things. So advantage on attack rolls against the creature you are grappling. Ooh boy. Woohoo. You can use your action to try to pin a creature that you have grappled. And also creatures that are one size larger than you don't automatically succeed on checks to escape your grapple. So you kind of have a chance of grappling like a giant. This is great. This at first glance is going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do some things. But once you start playing with it, you're going to notice how much variety this can bring into your game. There are entire builds out there that are based on the grappler feat, just because it gives you advantage on attack rolls if you grapple a creature. And because you're so big and so strong and you have all those advantages in terms of strength checks, then this is going to do you a world of wonders during your adventuring life. If you have a space for this feat and you're a melee focused guy who wants to deal a lot of damage, which you are in so many ways, then this is the feat for you. Great Weapon Master, kind of like the dual wielding feat. It literally buffs your capacity to fight with great weapons. If you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can make one melee weapon attack as a bonus action, but you can kind of do that already when you pick the Berserker class, and there are other things that you can do with your bonus action in the other Totem Warrior division. And also, before you make a melee attack with a heavy weapon that you are proficient with, you can choose to take -5 penalty to do 10 plus damage. This is the -5 plus 10 mechanic. It's really good. It's there for you, especially when you're fighting big creatures. So if you're fighting with big weapons, this can actually add some variety as well. If you don't have anything to do with your bonus action, then this is gonna be kind of cool. Moving along, Healer. You're an able physician, allowing you to mend wounds quickly and get your allies back in the fight. Well, this is kind of like Dungeon Delver. It's a utility thing. If you want to have it, if you want to put it in your character, if you want to be the tank and also the wise noble savage, and you want to be able to heal your people a little bit better, then this is for you. But if you're streamlining, or if you're going for more of a cookie cutter thing, then skip this. Unnecessary. Heavy armor, heavily armored. You're not wearing heavy armor, so right off the bat, yeah, you can get to increase strength, but proficiency with heavy armor isn't necessary for your character. Heavy armor master. Again, you're not wearing heavy armor, so no need to look into this. We have tried having an armored barbarian. It's kind of difficult. I do not advise it for a first character. And yeah, inspiring leader. You get the idea. You can make a speech last for about 10 minutes, and it gets your party members buffed. It goes off of charisma. So again, if your character can allow that, if you want to be this guy, then this is here for you. But much like Dungeon Delver, much like Healer, this is more about utility and roleplay. Keen Mind, very, very cool feat, but I would say not for the Barbarian class. You increase your intelligence score by 1 to a maximum of 20. Always know which way is north. Yeah, no. If you already have, you know, abilities that can kind of allow you to do many of these things, you don't need the intelligence. So Keen Mind, probably not the best pick for you. Lightly armored, again, kind of like heavily armored. The idea is for you not to be wearing armor, so this is unnecessary. Linguist, you get to increase intelligence, pick some languages. No, not necessary. Again, I'm not saying these are these are not gonna fit your build. These are there for every character to pick, but again, you need to have this concept in your mind. If this fits it, cool. Most probably it won't. Lucky, kind of a cool feat, but you're gonna have to have space for it. It's gonna allow you to roll some d20s, 3 of them to be precise, and, you know, kind of substitute some of your rolls with the new one. So it's kind of like always on advantage when you need it, when you want it. But if you can pick other things before this, then go ahead. This is not exactly a prerequisite. Mage Slayer, always great to have on at least one character in your party. It allows you to fight mages better. Kind of mess with their casting mechanics. Gives you advantage on saving throws against spells. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of up there. I would say it's much better than the dungeon delving and the healer stuff. But again, the other ones, the ones with the dual wielding and the heavy weapon fighting, have to take precedent before this. So this is more about utility, or you just really want to mess with that mage. That's the villain in your adventure. Magic Initiate allows you to be good with spells, even if you're not capable of casting any. So unnecessary for you, unless you want to kind of go into that. But if you do, then you're gonna take a better look at this one. Martial Adept, it allows you to have the superiority dice of a battle master, so it allows you to do combat maneuvers. And then at that point you're gonna go, ooh, this is gonna be so good. Well, yeah, actually it is good, but they're not gonna be as good as the fighter. This is more about having this option to your melee character. If you can squeeze it in there, or if you view your character as being able to do this, then this is right there for you. I suggest you go for it. It doesn't give you any attribute bumps, so that's kind of the trade-off. Medium Armor Master, see above, unnecessary. Mobile, you are exceptionally speedy and agile. Speed increases by 10 feet. When you use your dash action, the difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement on that turn, and when you make a melee attack against the creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks. So this can kind of go into all those nifty little things that the Totem Warrior allows you to do. If this is your thing, if you want to be this kind of barbarian, then this is very cool, especially that last part. If you're not going the path of the bear, and this is there for you, so you can be this very, very mobile, very utility-based melee fighter that can still tank a lot of damage. This is very cool. Moderately armored, unnecessary. Anything that has to do with armor, you just... Mounted Combatant, you are a dangerous foe to face while mounted. You can be a mounted barbarian, and this feat does a lot of things for you, especially that part where you can take damage instead of your mount, because you can take so much of it. It's really cool, a very cool synergy. You can build an entire character around that, because your mount doesn't have to be a horse, can be some other animal. Talk to your DM. He might have a lot of ideas. He's gonna tell you, okay, yes, you can ride that saber-toothed tiger, but we're gonna have to make a little trade. So again, you can base an entire character off of a single feat like that, and that's very cool. Observant ups your intelligence or wisdom by 1. So again, right now it tells you this is a utility feat, allows you to read lips, and +5 bonus to your passive wisdom. Always cool, but for a barbarian, you kind of don't need this, because you have abilities that allow you to perceive danger, to kind of be ready when dangerous stuff happens. You can have a turn before everybody else if everything goes well, so Observant, kind of unnecessary. Polearm Master, Polearm, yep, this is okay for you. If you're using a polearm weapon, then read all about this, take it instead of, or maybe in conjunction with heavy weapon fighting. It's really gonna be cool. It allows you to use your bonus action once again, and it kind of gives you this nifty utility thing in terms of defense. Kind of goes well with a barbarian bear totem warrior. This is very fun. Resilient, choose one. The resilient one is going to be the one that a lot of tanky barbarians are going to look at, just because it allows you to add 1 ability score of your choice to a maximum of 20, and you gain proficiency in saving throws using the chosen ability. So dexterity, obviously going to be a very prominent pick here. Also wisdom, because a lot of the things in the game in terms of spells and traps are wisdom saving throws, so this can help you out. Ritual caster, you can already cast a few rituals. This is not going to help you out in any way. You can just skip this one. Savage attacker, oh yeah. I mean, just the name itself kind of gives it away, right? Once per turn, when you roll damage for a melee weapon attack, you can reroll the weapon's damage dice and use either total. So this allows you to do more stable damage once per turn, especially if you crit. This is going to be very fun. So if you have space in your build, if you have space in terms of attribute allocation, then pick this. It's really good. Sentinel, this is more of a tanky thing. It makes your character very, very sticky, because when a creature triggers an opportunity attack when it tries to run away from you, which again, I mean, due to your abilities and your overall beefiness and I'm gonna say it again, machismo, then a lot of creatures are gonna run away from you, and if you manage to hit them while they're running away, then you can reduce their speed to 0, so no running away. And then creatures within 5 feet of you provoke opportunity attacks from you, even if they take the disengage action, so rogues cannot do their funny cunning tricks. And when a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against the target other than you, right? So think about this combined with a bear, and that target doesn't have this feat, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that attacking creature. So again, this is kind of meant to protect your allies, make you into more of a tanky beast, and just more sticky in melee combat. And then sharpshooter, nobody ever said that barbarians cannot have ranged weapons. You can drop the ranged weapon, rage, take the melee weapon out, especially if you can take out 2. This can be a cool utility thing, but it's more meant for, let's say, fighters, rangers, rogues, people who are going to specialize more into ranged combat. It's right below all those, primary feats that we talked about. If you want to be this kind of barbarian, though, looking at the hawk, or rather the eagle, the wolf, stuff like that, then this is going to help you out in so many ways. Shield Master. Oh yeah, take that shield, because this, in conjunction with all those abilities that tell you that while raging or otherwise, you have advantage on strength checks like shoving, pushing, and, just knocking creatures prone, then Shield Master is going to be very, very good for you. It's I would say, if you want to be tanky, and if you want to take that shield, because again, nobody ever said barbarians cannot have shields, then boom, this is for you. And I've had a character that uses Shield Master a lot. It's a very, very fun feat, very utility based, very party focused. Allows you to give advantage on in 2 different ways to your party. So this is very cool. Skilled, gain proficiency in any combination of 3 skills. Well, yeah, maybe, but again, the barbarian is not exactly focused on skills, kind of like spells. You're more focused on combat, taking damage, making doors, and stuff like that. Skulker, again, utility based, allows you to shoot from the shadows. Yeah, kind of like sharpshooter and crossbow master. You don't focus in this, so if it fits your build, if you want to be this kind of barbarian, if you have this concept in your mind, go ahead. But the more streamlined builds are not going to be looking into the spell sniper. Obviously not gonna do anything for you. But the next one, Tavern Brawler. Oh boy, is this gonna do a lot of good for you, because Tavern Brawler allows you to use your natural bulkiness, your natural capacity for melee brawling in combat, and adds so much on top of it. Increases strength or constitution, so those are your prime stats. This is made for you. You are proficient with improvised weapons and unarmed strikes, so no more 1 damage when you hit somebody with your massive fist. No, get to do a little bit more damage, hit more often. Your unarmed strikes use a d4 for damage instead of 1, so there you go. And then when you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon like a mug or a leg from a table, then you can use a bonus action to attempt to grapple the target. This is unbelievably good in terms of combat utility, and because you're a barbarian, you have all those advantages. So even if you get disarmed, even if you throw your weapon, then you can just rush in there, hit somebody with your fist, and then tackle him to the ground, and then keep going from there. So barbarians smash in so many wonderful ways. Just a few left. Tough, your hit point maximum increases by an amount equal to twice your level when you gain this feat. If you want to go into tanking more, if you want to have all this ridiculous amount of HP, especially if you combine that with being a hill dwarf, then you're gonna have a barrel full of HP, and that's just good. So the barbarian is one of the classes where taking tough is actually not a bad idea. Quantity is a quality of its own, right? Just think about that. Warcaster, again, you don't really use that kind of spell, so skip this, unnecessary. And then Weapon Master, and you have proficiency with 4 weapons of your choice. Strength or dexterity increases by 1. Well, to be honest, in the main game, right, in the core concept of the book, this feat doesn't have that much utility, especially for you, because you have proficiency in simple and martial weapons. There are a few other choices, but unless there's some homebrew, like what we're doing, or you're some other kind of class that doesn't have proficiency in all these weapons like a rogue, then again, this might not be this might not be the feat for you. So with that, that's the feats, and ultimately we're going to be talking just a little bit about the races, but feel free to check out our video about races. You're going to have a lot of ideas just based on that video. You can see which ones are in tune with the barbarian concept. Just for the sake of not giving so much information out, keeping your ideas pure and just not be showered with so much detail. The races that you're going to be looking at are the ones that give you proficiency, or rather increases in attributes like strength, constitution, because those are your primary stats, right? You're going to have one more than the other one. And the dwarf, the half-orc, the variant human, again, because of the feat, they're going to be the classes that are most in tune with the barbarian concept. Secondly, elves can actually make for interesting barbarians. The wood elf is a great concept, especially for the totem warrior. You can just have a build where you have a wood elf, totem warrior, barbarian, and take all those funny little utility feats, especially if you allocate your stats the proper way. Then you're gonna have such a cool concept for a character. You can imagine so many things just off of that simple combo. Other races, like let's say a tiefling, a gnome, a halfling, outright you look at that and go, I don't know. I mean, yeah, okay, but not a lot of synergies. And you're gonna be right. There's not a lot of statistical synergies with those races, but they can make for very cool, very fun role-playing opportunities. Especially the stout halflings. You can have a stout halfling barbarian. Doesn't make any sense, even in a fantasy concept, but it can be so fun to roleplay, so fun to have in your party. And then Dragonborn, again, very cool because they add strength. They kind of add charisma, so maybe not, but they have a breath weapon, they have resistance outright, so that can be very cool. We've had a character like that, very long-standing totem warrior barbarian. And with that, we're gonna kind of wrap it up. That's been the barbarian. It's one of the simplest classes. It's very accessible, and if you are the kind of person who enjoys stuff like that, then again, you're gonna have so much fun. Just throwing people left and right, swinging that large weapon, being all tough, and protecting your co-adventurers, making doors. I'm gonna keep saying that because we've had so many fun experiences with that. And on that note, I have been your most humble bartender. This is the barbarian class. The next one is probably gonna be either the fighter or the rogue. I haven't decided yet, but stay tuned for more of these. Follow us on Twitter, send us your questions, send us your tweets, send us your messages, emails. We are open to suggestions and all manner of questions. And just go out there, find the right group of people, make a character, and play some D&D, because number one, it's very healthy for you, but number two, you're gonna have a very great time. So yeah, go play, see you around. Go